Hello, my beautiful YouTube friends. Today I bring you a review over Mother Carey's Chickens by Kate Douglas Wiggin. The story begins with Mrs. Carey on her way to her husband's bedside. Captain Carey is unwell, and she is hopeful that being at his side, he will get better. So she leaves her 4 kids and servants to run the household and says that she will return in a short amount of time. Unfortunately, when she does return, Captain Carey has passed away, and the Carey family is left somewhat destitute. They can no longer afford the house that they are living in, and they need to look for alternative arrangements. As the kids have spent so much time looking after the house and becoming more self-reliant, Nancy takes it upon herself to inquire about a house that the family had visited quite a number of years earlier. The house is called the Yellow House, and that is because of the color of the house. When she gets a return letter stating that the house is not occupied, they send Gilbert to check the house, see if it's in good condition, and what the fee for renting it would be. Now, when Gilbert returns, he has some exciting news, and the family packs up and moves to the town of Beulah to live in the Yellow House. During their time there, they touch countless lives, and they, in return, receive the comfort of this community. Now, I really enjoyed the writing on this story. I thought that it was very timeless. The author really includes a lot to do with family and how family is important. You should love to have your family around. The author does a really good job of showing 2 contrasting situations, if not more. You have the Carey household who has lost their father, and they have become even more close-knit. You have the Hamilton family who own the Yellow House, whose family has really just deteriorated, and they've all gone into different corners of the world. And both father and mother are alive in that family, and I think that's why there's such a strong emphasis of family connection in this story. Then you meet the Lord's family. You have Henry Lord and his children Olive and Cyril, and you see how much a gap has appeared in their life, even more so since the death of their mother. During their mother's life, the father really wanted nothing to do with the rest of them, and after her death, you see that the love of a parent has really impacted Cyril and Olive as they have grown older. And I really enjoyed seeing the differences that the author was able to show with the Careys and the Hamiltons and the Lords. She really emphasizes key features that will maybe pop out at you and some that are more docile. Now let's talk about the Careys for a second. Mrs. Carey is that lovely mother who everybody wants to go and spend time with. You kind of just picture her as this loving, caring mother figure that you can go to no matter how old you are, and you can just perhaps talk to her and not be afraid to share what you actually think. Next, you have the firstborn, which is Nancy, and Nancy is 16 years old at the start of this story, and she does have some growing up that needs to take place during the story, but she is just a ray of sunshine in the family's life. Her wit is beautiful. You can't help but laugh whenever something is done by Nancy because the decisions are so outlandish. One thing that I really liked is how honest her character is. When she's writing to Mr. Hamilton for the first time, she doesn't realize that this letter is a little more scandalous than most usually are. You see, she tells him about each of the family members, but she also mentions things such as their cousin Anne. She also mentions the money problems that they're having. And even though she states it's her first business letter, you realize that she's so far off and she still has a lot of growing to take place, but she's such a fun character to read. Next you have Gilly, or Gilbert. He is very much wanting things his way, and he has to learn to step back and not just think about himself, but to think about the family as a whole, because he is now the head of the family besides his mother. Now, Gilly's character does go through a little more of a docile change, I want to say. He ends up having to realize that he needs to think more as a group rather than self. And I really enjoyed that. Next we have Kathleen. And Kathleen is one of those characters that are just childishly cute. She thinks more on a level playing field, and she doesn't have a problem kind of sitting back and letting other people make the decisions to do stuff. But again, she is a character that really does add extra emphasis to this story. The final child in the Careys household is Peter, and Peter is called Peter Bird. He is that adorable child that every single time you look at him, all you think of is, he is so adorable, or he is so cute, because literally that's how his character is. He's got those pudgy hands and the pudgy cheeks and the pudgy legs that you just want to tickle, and he's just a really cute child. He's one of the ones where he's used to being spoiled, and with the situation the Careys are in now, he no longer can be spoiled. Now, one other person I want to mention is their cousin. Julia ends up coming to live with them, and Julia is that prim and proper girl who expects to be waited on hand and foot, and she really just has a very kind of meaning, and you kind of feel sorry for her in a way because she hasn't learned to expand her horizons in a way because she is an only child. Now, one thing that I really enjoyed is that the setting of the story is in Beulah, Maine, and it's just lovely. You get to see the seasons and the changes. Now, the children have the nickname of Mother Carey's chickens, who go out and tell good birds the way home. Now, there's a lot in this story about changes. You have the seasons changing, you have changes in where they are living as a group, as a family, and you also have the changes in each of the characters, be it maturing more or just opening your eyes to other things. Now, one thing that is going to be more of a spoiler for this, so if you do not want to get spoiled, I'm not going to really be going into a lot of detail, but if you guys don't want to hear a bit more about the ending of the story, then I would sign off now, and I hope I've encouraged you to pick this up. I really enjoyed that the ending of this book was Nancy's coming out. She ended up coming out in the barn, and rather than having it in a ballroom, she was really happy just being in the town of Beulah with all the people around and just getting to have some fun with them. I really enjoyed that. More of the excitement of the ending, this big oomph, was basically the ending of the story, but in a way it was the beginning of the story, because everything is going to continue on after she has become a woman and she's no longer a child. Nancy does state at one point that she is more of a child when she was sitting on the side of the barn waiting for everything to start, and after she finished a specific dance, she walked away thinking, I'm a woman. And I really enjoyed that. You see how her character has changed. She's not looking at things as a child. She's looking at things more as an adult. Now, Tom Hamilton, I didn't talk about him during the actual overall review of this because his character is a little more spoilery to talk about. I loved Tom Hamilton as a child when I first read his character, and it's very surprising to fall in love with a male character who's maybe only in about 20 of the pages of the book. I'm serious. He's only in the last few pages of the book. I think the last 2 chapters in total. And he is such a character. You can't help but fall in love with his character the minute that you meet him. He is nicknamed the Yellow Peril, and he ends up joking with Nancy over this nickname that she gave to him. But he tells her all these different things, and she ends up starting to look at him a little differently. Tom Hamilton is 28 years old, and Nancy's character is only 17. But you see that something starts to flourish and bloom in the characters. I really love the fact that he says to her, You sent your love to Father for any of his children that happened to be the right size. I happened to be the right size, so I took it. And I just really enjoyed the fact that his character in a way is a little bit romantic, and even though you don't know a lot about him, you just end up coming to love his character for who he is. And you can just see that even though the story ends with everybody finishing the party and it's bedtime, you can't help but see that there are different things taking place in the community as a whole, and you just see the life coming back into all of these people, and you get to see the enjoyment that they have. Overall, I loved reading Mother Carey's Chickens again, and it was like getting a big warm hug from somebody you haven't seen for a while. That's kind of how it always feels when I read a book again. Anyway, guys, if you have read Mother Carey's Chickens, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you've stuck around through the spoilery bit, I hope I've encouraged you to pick up Mother Carey's Chickens. Until next time, go and pick up a random book and read. Merry Christmas, guys.